Allora passiamo a un paese che è la Polonia, che è stato un paese di emigrazione. Voi avete alimentato gran parte dell'emigrazione che veniva dai paesi dell'est. Vorrei sapere a questo punto, oggi, qual è la situazione del flusso migratorio dalle vostre parti? C'è ancora molta gente che se ne va dalla Polonia? E secondo, vorrei sapere se per caso non c'è un fenomeno rovesciato, che gente che viene a vivere in Polonia. Allora, il professor Potocki dell'Università di Rzeszòw in Polonia.
Thank you very much. How much time do you have?
You have
8 minutes?
8 minutes.
Okay. So, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Professor Bruno Amoroso for the invitation and to OBI team for all the support we receive, our Polish delegation. Rzeszów is a southeastern part of Poland, so economically this is the poorest region, but only economically, because Rzeszów as a main city of this region is perceived in number of rankings as one of the best place people want to live in Poland. So money is not everything, and briefly I think my intervention will be about that. So if you are planning your journey to Poland and planning to visit Krakow and former Polish city Lwów, which is now the part of Ukraine, Rzeszów is just in the middle between Krakow and Lviv, so you are all kindly invited to visit Rzeszów. So, okay, and coming back to the questions, maybe I will discuss it later, because I thought that we will have more students right now, yeah, because I am the last, so most of them left. So because I have a personal story to talk about materialism, about migration, and I think it will fit to the discussion. And because I'm more professional than academic, I became academic 3 years ago, and for more than 10 years I work in business consulting. So I'm some kind of the mixture. So when I was at the 5th year at university studying finance and banking, I won the national competitions for the training. So I solved 2 case studies. First was about CSR, second was about IT business consulting. And because I got maximum score for both, I was able to choose whether I want to work for CSR NGOs or I want to work for PricewaterhouseCoopers. And to everyone's surprise, I chose to work for these NGOs, and most of my colleagues said that, Tom, you are crazy, you are just crazy. Everybody wants to work for PricewaterhouseCoopers. So from economical perspective, from neoclassical rationality, yeah, I behave irrationally. I sacrifice my own well-being to help others. And yeah, I became to behave irrationally. But after the traineeship, I received a full-time job opportunity, and I worked for them for 1 year. But then my scholarship and grants for my parents were over, so I started to struggle and started to think that I'm working here for penny, and my friends earn 10,000 more than me. So at some time I decided to quit, and I moved this business consulting, IT consulting business, and I spent an 8 year working really hard. So I have no time for family, friends. Yes, I earn much more than before, but I wasn't more happy than when I worked for NGO companies. So I started to think that something is wrong with that model. And yes, from the perspective of research, if you are high income and you most of the time you have high responsibilities, so you devoted your time to tasks which are full of stress and tension. So at the end, you must be less happy. Yeah? So I was a pure example of such a situation. Then I set up my own family, and I worked even harder to financially secure my family. And 3 years ago, we finally, with my wife, decided to move out from Warsaw and come back to Rzeszów, to our home city. And I finally cut this vicious circle. I started to work at University of Rzeszòw. I also became executive coach career, helping others to reconsider their professional situation and sometimes help to cut their vicious circle, which I have. So you might ask why I'm saying this. I think based on research, economics students are more selfish, are giving less to charity, are volunteering less than their colleagues from different departments, from non-economic departments. So I think the problem we have is education. And so then this model is strengthened through the lifespan when we need to focus on securing our family. So first thing we need to do when I think about the migration, because I migrated to Warsaw, then I come back, is education. We need to learn more and teach more about business ethics, about altruism, and this is the first thing. The trust, it was mentioned by our colleague from Norway. It's also the topic of my intervention, and it's because Putnam in 2007 said that the level of trust is associated with the society's stability. So when you add to that this migration, which is quite low in Poland, the migration from outside Europe to Poland is quite low right now, so we are quite close society. And so I'm a bit scared when I've heard this information, because after transition we grew quite fast economically. We are much richer than we were 20 years ago. But at the same time, our social capital and trust is almost at the same level than it was 20 years ago. So just after the transition. So this situation is, from my perspective, is a bit scary. If we add to that and we open our country for migration, and this became true, that it will even lower our trust, I feel a bit scared about the situation. And both have, of course, profound impact on happiness and socio-economic well-being. So the another case of Poland is that that the correlation, if you take the data from this World Value Survey and you estimate the correlation between the happiness, so perceived happiness, and perceived life satisfaction, you will see that these both variables are negatively correlated. So there are different domains which influence happiness, and there are different domains, or partly at least different, which influence life satisfaction. So and this is a case of most of transition economies. So and the problem is more difficult to solve. So I think that we should look for the answer outside the mainstream of economics, and I think that we should look for the outside standard economic methods using experimental studies and neuroimaging study, because based on neuroeconomics we have natural aversion to inequality, but because of the social, because when there's no social pressures, there's no presence of others, the selfishness typically predominates. So answering your question, yeah, I'm worried. Okay, I'm open person, but I'm worried from the perspective of the research presented by our Norwegian colleague. I'm a bit afraid of the level of trust we have, because we have really low level of trust in our society, and this is, of course, the main component of welfare society, and it's difficult to say, but there was a huge migration, and most of my colleagues stayed mostly in UK or in Germany or 10, 15 years ago in US, but I think it's strictly connected with the level of financial well-being. To some point, you need to fight for your survival. Yes, so you need to look for the better world when you can earn more money. And to some point, you need to look outside Poland. Yeah. And my example shows that after some level of material well-being, you are looking for something else. Like Engelhardt said, we live in a post-materialism society. So I think, I don't know if I answer your questions, probably